This is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the Ways of Israel. Just want to continue our series of study of To Be a Jew. And we are now in the book of To Be a Jew. We're right now in chapter 9, where we're looking at this concept of, and they shall build for me a sanctuary that I may dwell in their midst. Exodus 25, verse 8. And so we looked at the synagogue where Jews assembled, and we're going to take a look at today the synagogue as an institution. Synagogues are autonomous institutions. They are established and organized and maintained and controlled locally by any group of Jews who wish to have a synagogue, again a Bet Knesset, in their midst. Each synagogue is independent of others and is governed by an elected group of officers and board of directors. Each synagogue is essentially bound by the codes of Jewish law in its ritual practice, and there's nothing to prevent any synagogue from establishing its own policies, its own procedures, and both ritual as well as general matters. And there are national procedures in both the ritual and general matters in regards to details. There are national associations which are purely voluntary and have no powers of enforcing decisions on the local congregation. Situation differs in Britain, where the Central Synagogue Agency does possess greater power of that of enforcement. And Orthodox Jews in their synagogues, their rituals and procedures feel bound by the laws of prayer and synagogue procedures formulated by the Jewish codes of law. The rulings of their rabbis or leaders or all ritual matters are accepted as binding. The synagogue practices and those of Jews who do not submit to such guidelines will depend on the degree of their own feel, quote-unquote, or against the traditional patterns. And thus, synagogues officially belonging to even same denominations may vary. And the groups may differ considerably from one to the other in their religious policies and in the way they in their respective worship service as it's conducted. Now, while the influence and attitudes of the rabbis is most always a strong factor, the freedom to choose a rabbi who is sympathetic to the views of the congregation, that such influence is sometimes, though not always, more theoretical than actual. While the placement bureaus of rabbinical schools serve as a clearinghouse for placement of rabbis to establish the ground rules for interviewing candidates and for the terms of their contracts, one cannot impose a rabbi on a congregation and contract between the rabbi and the congregation. Congregations are free to elect their own rabbis, as they are free to renew a contract by vote by their own congregation. Where a rabbi serves a congregation for more than 10 years, he is usually regarded as having tenure, although this is true and not on a universal level. Any Jew is free to enter and worship and join any synagogue, unless it's more of like a Syrian community, which rejects any type of returnees or converts. And regarding their less levels of observance or religious commitment, in this framework, the American experience, the difference between joining a synagogue and worshiping in a synagogue should be, however, understood to be misunderstood by the uninitiated. It is possible for one to join, be a member of the synagogue without ever going there to worship. It's also possible for people to worship quite regularly in a synagogue without even being a member. Membership in an American synagogue is reckoned in terms of joining rather than worshiping. Membership involves the payment of a specified fee as shipping. Membership involves payment of a specified fee as annual dues. Dues are a prime source of income for most synagogues, which enables them to operate on a year-round basis. Membership in a synagogue reflects a willingness to support and maintain the religious institution financially, a self-supported tax, if you will, to the member. And to be regarded as a member of a religiously oriented community, it's not even necessary of an indication of a personal piety or level of religious commitment. This is judged by the other criteria, including the regularity with which one worships at the synagogue, by the extent of observance and the wide range of mitzvot and the ethical and moral standards. But since membership involves dues, there are always those who either cannot afford such payment or do not wish to spend such spend such matters. Where a Jewish community has had taxing power, the tax collected from all of the most indigent maintained the local synagogue, and direct membership dues were never involved. But in the United States, it is estimated that half of the Jewish families, yes, half of the Jewish families in the countries are not members of any synagogue, even though their dues rate from vary from synagogue to synagogue, from insignificant amounts to substantial sums, depending on the size of their budget. Except for 2 holidays, it becomes very important to be able to take a seat and be part of the community. That's Rosh Hashanah and the day of Yom Kippur, where almost every synagogue members attend to service, and the limited numbers of seats in each synagogue restricts the number of people who can attend or be accommodated, thus restricting the accommodation and supporting membership. Even those who do not have an affiliation with the synagogue and do not exert themselves to contribute to maintain the institution on a year-round basis and are not barred may still worship at no cost to them on other 362 days of the year, including each of the 52 Shabbats and other major festivals. Since Jewish law does not permit handling money on Shabbat or festival collections or passing the plate, as it were, it's not its practice in essence. At morning weekday service is traditional, though not an obligation for worship to contribute some coins or kesef into the charity box. Persons of other faith are always welcome to enter synagogue at any time if they wish to observe the service. Except for high holidays and Yom Kippur, there are no special arrangements need to be made. Here at the Ways of Israel that we serve as a Jewish community, even online in other communities that we have throughout Latin America, we do have membership available to anyone who wishes to partake. The membership annually is only $100 a year, and you receive a membership card that you belong to the Ways of Israel, or in Spanish, Los Caminos de Israel. And thus we have a membership group of people who have paid their dues on an annual basis, and if you wish to be a member of the Ways of Israel, Los Caminos de Israel, please let me know, and we will send you the application. It's a one-sheet application, and your membership fee per person is $100. Thank you for watching.